On chess.com, players have been playing better over the course of time, and so now even hitting the 1200 rating range on Blitz is not so easy. But I think that this can be an instructive game for people of all different rating ranges. For players who are sick and tired of playing e4 openings and getting stuck in two knights defense and fried liver attacks, the knight f3 opening is a great choice. It's really flexible. When my opponent plays d6, I know that's my cue to reach out for the center and play a little bit more aggressively with my pawns. Okay. This is the first instructive moment of the game. I recapture back. Now this is a big mistake. I could play a nice move here like queen to b3, and now if my opponent tries to get his bishop out, I'm going to come and I'm going to take that pawn. So of course that's not what happened in the game. I make the mistake of capturing back with the pawn, and now he takes back, and he's just one move away from castling. He castles, and now I move my knight there, and now there are all sorts of opportunities that I have. I play the move bishop to g5, fully expecting that he's going to trade with me, which is exactly what happens. Now why is that a mistake? Because when I capture back, this allows me a great opportunity. I kind of spoil his plans. Now he can no longer play this move because I can simply take back, attacking the queen, and my knight defends that square. So he plays knight to a6. This is a great move. Now, if you don't see why, let me explain. If he plays the classic move, knight to c6, well, that's going to lead to this. I play the amazing move, queen to h5, threatening checkmate. And what does he have to do? Well, he has to play h6. And now, a great move. Knight takes on e6, followed by the queen taking, and the knight captures the pawn with this amazing fork. That leaves me to take the bishop. I probably should have played a better move, like queen to h4, but I didn't see it, to be honest. So what do? I play f4. Well, that's an aggressive move, and it's actually a mistake. Luckily for me, my opponent, well, he's rated 1250, not 2050. c6 is going to be a costly mistake for my opponent, because I have this great move. I fork the queen and the knight, and he has to move out the way. And so now I get to take back, and I have all sorts of cool sequences here. My opponent, it looks like my opponent can play this move. Rook takes on f1, and he sure can. But if I take back with the queen, and he plays this move, well, this would be a big mistake. Because not only could I capture the pawn, but I also could make this incredible move, queen captures on f8. And when the king takes back, I take, and how do you stop me from promoting? Guess what? You can't. The engine says that your best move is to cut your losses and play c takes on d5. But that didn't happen in the game. My opponent probably calculated all that, and we saw queen to d7, f takes on g6, c takes d, and queen takes on d5. Now, my opponent calmly moves the king to h8, and I have this move, rook to f7, attacking the queen, and it looks like I've got something brewing here. But do I? Well, not really. After the exchange of these pieces, my opponent comes in and plays really the only move here. Rook to f8. I play rook to f1, and this is an inaccuracy because what I should do is I should double up on the bubble up, as Ben Feingold would say. My opponent plays the move knight to b4. Knight to b4 is a great move. Now, it says that I should have played bishop to h3. Bishop to h3 was just this amazing move that is really very hard to see. Because imagine that the queen takes there. Guess what? Now the queen takes here, and you've got this incredible fork. Checkmate could be coming very soon, unless you defend well. Unfortunately, what happens is I play queen to d1, and my opponent goes ahead and recaptures. Now that's a miss, believe it or not, although it's pretty hard to say why. Because after I capture and he captures back, the engine says that I'm actually still winning. White is for choice. I've got 50 seconds left and my opponent has 1 minute and 36 seconds left. So what happens here? My opponent goes ahead and he plays h6, just making a little bit of room for his king to escape to. Now I play check and he plays the nice cool move king to h7. After I play bishop to h3, I thought that I surely had something brewing in the kitchen because my opponent can't play his knight back there because I'll simply take with the pawn. So that's one piece he doesn't have as a defensive resource. But my opponent finds another way to use his knight as a defensive resource. Because sometimes offense is the best defense. And he plays the amazing move, knight to d3. Now what gives with this move? Well, it's pretty simple. You'll see real soon. I check, and he goes ahead, and he blocks with the pawn. Now, I thought surely at this point I would have something brewing in the kitchen because I've got this move. Bishop to e6, and now say that he goes down there looking to checkmate me. I checkmate him first. But that's not what happened in the game, because my opponent, remember, he played this great move, knight to d3. So what did that move do? Well, let's zoom ahead to this position. I can no longer play this move, because guess what? I play this move, and the queen's not going to come here. The queen's going to come all the way down there, and that's going to be wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. That's a checkmate. Luckily, that didn't happen in the game, and I forced the exchange of queens here. Now, there's really nothing else for him to do, but guess what? I also lost my advantage. Very unfortunate. Sometimes the most important move of the game is the move you play after you get into an endgame. What I should do here is I should play a3, but I make a big mistake. I play bishop to b5, looking to take the pawn, but of course he's going to move it, and that's exactly what he does. You might be thinking, how did I miss the move a3 in this position? I did get up to a 1200 rating after all. Shouldn't I be able to see that? Well, you're technically right. However, I only had 23 seconds left on my clock, and so I was trying to rush things a little bit. I thought that I had him blocked out for the most part, and that this game would be a draw. Now, for the most part, that's kind of right, but it's also a little bit wrong, because after the minor pieces get exchanged, he has this move g5, and what I do is I capture back. But guess what? Black now can win. How can he win? He can take the pawn. And what do I have? Well, there's not much I can do. If I play a move like f2 or g2, just looking to stay in the game, what does my opponent do? Well, he plays king g4. He could play a number of other moves here, but king g4 works well. And this is the idea of opposition of kings in the endgame. He would get in with his king. And what would I do? Well, I'd have nowhere to go, and he would eventually get his pawn to promote, and he would be winning the game. But that's not what happened. My opponent is rated 1250 after all, not 2050. So after I take, he takes back with the pawn. Now technically, he's still winning, although it's a little bit hard to say why. There's not much brewing in the kitchen right now. His king can't access any of the light squares, and my king, well, it can't access any of the dark squares. Looks like a drawn endgame. He moves his king over, and only black can play for a win here. I truly believe that the reason that I got up to 1200 is by studying endgames and knowing that a move like this in this situation is exactly what loses you the game. He takes back with his king, and it would be just like what happened on the other side. I would start going back, and he'd use this rule of opposition to eventually sneak into the corner, promote the pawn, and that would be game. That wouldn't be good, but that's not what happened. After he plays a6, I just move back with my king. And now, what to do? Well, he plays a5, but that's not going to get much done. I played the incredible move c3. Other moves also worked here. Black can't access these light squares. I can't access the dark squares. This should be a drawn game. And now, after move 56, I've got 4 seconds left on my clock. My opponent has 16 seconds left on his clock. Now remember this position, because it's going to come up again. Now he waits and he tries to find the perfect time to get in with his pawn. But guess what? Not happening, not today. I've studied my endgames, and I know what to do. And now, guess what? It's move 72, and the position repeats for a second time. I've got 2 seconds left on my clock. My opponent has just under 7 seconds left. And at move 74, my opponent plays king b8 for the 3rd time. When the position has been repeated 3 times, it's a draw. And so this is the end of our 3-minute Blitz game, and it's a draw. Looking at the game review, we both played in the mid-80 percentile. Well, percentage doesn't really mean anything, especially at this level when games are simple and there aren't a lot of ideas taking place. This is so typical of games at the 1200 rating range, because you see these missed wins that each side has. There might not be a lot of blunders in this game. In fact, there were no blunders in this game, but there were 2 big missed wins for each side, which is probably why I'm rated 1200, my opponent is rated 1250, and we're not rated 2050. So a good game to my opponent. And guess what? By getting the draw, I moved up to 1200. I gained 1 rating point. Now, I've been higher rated in the past, and I'm rated 2000 on Lead Chess, but it feels really good not to be rated in the 11xx's anymore. So that's the game. I hope you can learn something from it no matter what level you are. Have fun, play chess, have a great time. I'll see you later. I'm Mustachiola, over and out.